Greetings, gentles and ladiesmen, ExoParadigmGamer here. I know I'm kinda late on this one, but I did promise to look at Hyrule Warriors back in the Skyward Sword review, so I figured I'd be better late than never. When I first heard about Hyrule Warriors in December of last year, I wasn't quite sure what to think. As someone who enjoys plowing through a good hack and slash game every once in a while, what I saw in the reveal trailer looked interesting, but I wasn't sure if I'd actually pick up the game or not. As the various trailers piled up over the past year and I learned more about the story and the playable characters, I became more and more excited to get my hands on a copy and see what this crazy spin-off has to offer. How well does this odd crossover of Dynasty Warriors and The Legend of Zelda work? Let's find out! Hyrule Warriors was produced by Tecmo Koei, the same company that brought us Metroid Other M. For what it's worth, I do think that Hyrule Warriors is the better game of the two. The game combines the fast-paced hack-and-slash action of Dynasty Warriors with the universe and characters of the Legend of Zelda series. Now just to be clear, I have never played a Dynasty Warriors game before, so if you're expecting a detailed gameplay comparison, I'm sorry to disappoint. I'm playing this game because I'm a fan of the Zelda series, and because I thought this spin-off looked fascinating. If this game really is as shallow and derivative as some reviewers are making it out to be, then I don't have the background or the experience to be able to tell. Anyways, back to the game. The plot should be familiar to anyone who has ever played a Zelda title before. The Kingdom of Hyrule is a peaceful land ruled by the lovely and wise Princess Zelda, and thanks to the exploits of General Impa and the Hylian army, the people of Hyrule have enjoyed a long-lasting peace. But things take a turn when Zelda suddenly has a 30 FPS nightmare witnessing dark forces conquering Hyrule, awakening to learn of an invasion by the mysterious Sia, Sorceress of Darkness. Sia, accompanied by her generals Volga and Wizro, unleash a legion of monsters upon Hyrule, and General Impa and her forces engage them in battle. A Hylian soldier named Link is revealed in an attack by Volga to be the descendant of the goddess Hylia's chosen hero and the bearer of the Triforce of Courage. Link is able to use his powers to force Sia and her army to retreat. As the dust settles, it becomes apparent that Princess Zelda has gone missing, with Sia's forces spreading out to attack other parts of the kingdom. As Impa and Link continue to grapple with the dark forces, they encounter a strange witch named Lana, who is leading a small resistance against Sia. They also come across a mysterious Sheikah warrior named Sheik. Gee, I wonder where Princess Zelda's at. Seriously, where in Subrosia could she possibly be? Link, Impa, Sheik, and Lana eventually track down Sia and attempt to take her out, only for Sia to combine her Triforce of Power with the other shards to open a series of temporal gates across history. With Sia's forces growing stronger than ever, Link and company enter the gates to the past to confront Sia's generals, close the gates, and defeat the sorceress and her evil designs. Along the way, they encounter friends and foes from different periods of the Zelda timeline. For a Zelda game, it's pretty standard stuff, but I still really enjoyed the story in this game, unlike Metroid Other M, which was very out of touch with the Metroid timeline, especially anything involving the Prime sub-series. Hyrule Warriors is very loyal and accurate to the Zelda mythos and universe. There are so many subtle as well as obvious references to past games, such that the game fits right in with the established series lore. Some might find it too fanservice-y, but I prefer to see it as a love letter to a truly awesome series of video games. Over the course of your adventure, you get to visit locations and meet characters from Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, and Skyward Sword. It's disappointing that these time periods only have 2 levels each, but the winks and nods to these great titles are fun nonetheless. I also think that Hyrule Warriors really nails the characterization of all of our favorite Zelda characters. Zelda is strong, independent, and intelligent. Impa is responsible, wise, and all around just a badass. I also think that this game's incarnation of Link is one of the best yet. Over the course of the adventure, he starts to develop a messiah complex and becomes cocky and full of himself. When he almost meets his end at the hands of Sia, his friends bail him out and he learns to take his destiny seriously and value the support of his friends and teammates. Seeing as Link is usually just an avatar character in most of the other games, this admittedly brief character study of the psychological effects of his chosen hero status is a truly welcome change of pace. I'm not saying that Link should or should not be an avatar character, just that the subtle character development makes him a little more interesting than usual while still not making him feel out of place compared to the rest of the series. I also really enjoy our villain, Sia. She's got a creative backstory and an interesting relationship with Link, making her one of the most interesting and memorable villains in the series so far. The story also has a couple of twists and turns that make it something more than a pile of recycled Zelda tropes. Some of the twists are painfully fucking obvious, but others genuinely surprised me. When it looks like Sia is going to get demoted to Dragon early on in the game throws a curveball. The story in Hyrule Warriors, though basic and familiar on the surface, offers great three-dimensional heroes and villains, explores many new and old locations in the Zelda universe, and offers enough twists and turns to keep things interesting, while still avoiding the retardation of the goddess Hylia from Skyward Sword. Yeah, I stand by it. Hylia is a fucking moron. For a hack-and-slash spin-off game, the story in Hyrule Warriors is surprisingly good. How about dim aesthetics? The art direction in this game is fucking awesome. The new character designs for Link, Zelda, and Impa combine elements from their Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess, and Ocarina of Time designs to create something unique yet familiar. Of all things, I really like Link's new scarf. It looks nice on him. The environments are all creatively designed and pay glorious tribute to the original games. As far as graphics go, I can't tell you how great it is for Zelda to have finally embraced HD, with Wind Waker HD and Hyrule Warriors paving the way for the upcoming 2015 Zelda release on Wii U. The character models all look fabulous, though there are those glaring moments where stuff is clipping through things they're not supposed to. The environments look great in general, though a decent amount of assets can have some pixelated looking textures on them. These rocks that you can destroy with your bombs are case in point. Overall though, Hyrule Warriors is a pretty good looking game. The soundtrack is also wholly badass. Skyward Sword finally gave us orchestrated music, and Hyrule Warriors continues this trend, even throwing some rock and metal into the mix. It's some seriously great stuff, man. This game not only features some awesome remixes from previous games in the series, but also offers a few great original tracks as well. My favorites are Focal Line, Eclipse of the Moon, and Silent Guardians. You're also given the ability to set a musical track to play before you head into a battle scenario, sort of like in Sonic Generations. With the exception of some minor graphical hiccups here and there, the aesthetics in Hyrule Warriors are pretty damn good. Getting into the gameplay, it's not quite what I was expecting. As someone who's relatively inexperienced with hack and slash games, most of what I've played has been of the more linear God of War gameplay style. Hyrule Warriors and the larger Dynasty Warriors series mix things up by putting the player in a large battlefield filled with legions of enemies to defeat. Over the course of the battle, you're given different objectives and in charge with capturing enemy keeps and outposts. Your allies and enemies will converse with each other as the battle goes on, making for an immersive battlefield experience. I was mixed on this different gameplay style at first, but as I played more and more of it, I grew to really enjoy it. Helping things is the controls, which are simple and easy to learn. You're given the option of a Dynasty Warriors control style and a Zelda control style, making things comfortable for fans of both series. The game supports a wide variety of controllers as well, from the gamepad to the Wii Remote and Nunchuck to the Pro Controller. I recommend the Pro Controller. It works really well with this sort of game. Fighting enemies, compared to the fantastic nuanced combat of Skyward Sword, is admittedly somewhat mindless. If you're not a fan of hack and slash gameplay, Hyrule Warriors will do nothing to change your mind. But if you are a fan of this sort of game, like I am, then I think you'll find it upholds the standards of the genre. There's an attack button, a strong attack button, a dodge roll, a special attack button, and a focus mode that powers up your attacks. Chaining button combinations enables the player to unleash powerful combos on enemies, which scatter like flies in your wake. It's pretty satisfying. While many of the enemies are basic mooks that go down in a couple of hits, other enemies like Redeads and Aralphos require you to make use of your combos, items, and your dodge roll to take out. You unlock quite a few traditional Zelda items along the way, like bombs, arrows, the boomerang, etc. It's great to see them and all, but they're not especially effective for attacking enemies, and are pretty situational in terms of progression, so I only found myself using them when they were required. In addition to the mooks and the enemy warrior characters you'll end up fighting, there are also a number of tough giant bosses to take on. If you played the original game on NES, many of them will look familiar to you. These make better use of your items and really test your reflexes. One thing that sucks, however, is that there are only about 7 in total, and after a certain point in the game they start to recycle. I think a few more of these giant bosses would have really sealed the deal. Hyrule Warriors has a metric but fuck ton of playable characters in it, which helps to keep the somewhat simple gameplay from getting stale or boring. Seeing as Nintendo teased them in a series of trailers before this game came out, I don't think I'd be spoiling too much if I listed some of them off. There's Link, Zelda, Impa, Sheik, Lana, Darunia, Princess Ruto, Midna, Agatha, and Fi, just to name a few of them. Yup, apparently her name is pronounced Fi. How do I know that?
Fi, a servant of the goddess Hylia, joined Link, and together they drove away the Dragon Knight Volga.
Alright, short tangent here. How the fuck do you look at the letters F and I and think Fi? I always thought her name was pronounced Fee, like they were going for the iron pun or something, seeing as she's a sword and stuff. Usually in Zelda, if the pronunciation's not obvious, it usually goes off of the Latin alphabet, so I figured the I in her name was pronounced like a long E. After all, it's not pronounced Giraheim, it's pronounced Girahim. If they wanted it to be pronounced Fi, why didn't they spell F-Y-E or F-A-I or F-I-E or something like that? Yet another reason why Skyward Sword should have had voice acting. Alright, enough about that. Most of these characters are a lot of fun to play as. Sheik, Impa, and Fi are some of my favorites. They attack fast and furious, their combat is exceptionally smooth, and there's a lot of variety in their attacks. Zelda is another one of my personal favorites. She can store up light energy and use it to attack enemies with light arrows, which you can pull off between combos with the dodge roll button. This mix of ranged magic attacks and rapier slashes makes Zelda one of my top favorites. Darunia, as the resident powerhouse character, is slow but devastating, using the Megaton hammer to split open the skulls of his enemies. Link is my absolute favorite though. His sword slashes do lots of damage, he's really fast, his spin attacks are great for taking out multiple enemies at once, and his combos are a lot of fun to string together. While most of these characters are fun to play as, some of them are pretty meh. Midna, disappointingly, was one of them. Her combos are slower than other characters while not doing enough damage to make her a powerhouse character like Darunia. Lana is probably my absolute least favorite. Her attacks aren't very effective, she's kind of slow, her magic attacks aren't very useful, and she's just all around not as much fun to play as compared to other characters. She's better with her spear weapon, but still not as good as many of the others. Though some characters are kind of disappointing, a vast majority are fun to play as. And it's cool to finally be playing as some of my favorite characters from other games in the series. One thing that does admittedly annoy me is that these characters are pretty basic out of the gate, featuring simplistic combos and limited abilities. To unlock worthwhile combo chains, you have to upgrade your characters. Certain enemies will drop materials upon defeat, which you can use at the bazaar to fashion badges for your warriors, which will upgrade their abilities. If you want to unlock extended combo chains for your characters, you have to purchase all 5 Kokiri sword badges for each character. I have mixed feelings about this upgrade system. On one hand, I think it deepens the gameplay by adding replay value to the levels. It encourages the player to try out all the different modes, and it gives completionists something to cut their teeth on. On the other hand, I can't help but feel that the characters should have been more developed from the get-go. In my opinion, the combat doesn't get really fun until you unlock longer combo chains. The default chain only lasts for about 5 hits and feels really abrupt, while the longer chains go longer and introduce a flow and rhythm to taking down enemies and dodging attacks. And seeing as there are about 20 playable characters in this game, each with their own sets of badges to unlock, that means that you can't even really have fun with them until you farm enough materials to get them in decent condition. This doesn't take too long, but I still feel like the characters should start off with more developed combo chains and abilities. Not a game breaker, but something that does kind of bug me. While Hyrule Warriors sounds like it'd be a relatively short game, it's actually got a surprisingly large amount of content, spanning 4 different modes. There's the main story legend mode, which contains about 20 levels in it, each with 4 difficulties. Free mode allows you to play all these levels as any character you want. One thing that does kind of annoy me is that a few of these levels get recycled, some more than once. I hope you like the Valley of Seers level, folks, because you're going to be going to it 3 times before this game ends. Then there's the challenge mode, where you're thrust into battles and made to accomplish specific objectives with the character of your choice. The most interesting mode is the adventure mode, where you move around a map and enter a series of mini battles with specific characters and are graded on your performance. Getting high grades with certain characters unlocks heart pieces and whatnot, so it's a great way to play around with your new characters and get more familiar with their playstyles. You can also use battle cards to unlock even more extra goodies. These battles often have special conditions that keep them interesting and fun. If you're a completionist, Hyrule Warriors will be keeping you even busier. All the modes have heart containers and heart pieces defined, which you can get by finding hidden chests or by capturing certain keeps. Additionally, when certain conditions are met in the battlefield, gold sculptulas will pop up, which you can hunt down to get illustration pieces. If you're going after all of this shit, and going for the A ranks and all the challenge and adventure mode levels, you're gonna have your hands full for a very, very long time. And that's not even counting the DLC, which adds several extra story scenarios and new playable characters. If you purchase Hyrule Warriors, you'll be getting your $60 worth and then some. Hyrule Warriors is a pretty damn good Zelda spin-off, if I do say so myself. The series' mythos and universe is given loving attention, and the various winks and nods to previous games in the series not only allow the game to fit snugly into the series' timeline, but also reminds us of why we love this series so damn much to begin with. The story manages to be both familiar and fresh at the same time, featuring the same Zelda tropes while taking liberties with our favorite characters and offering a number of interesting twists. The graphics and art direction are great, and the soundtrack is utterly badass. While the gameplay isn't perfect and won't please everyone, its fast-paced hack-and-slash brawler action will appeal to any fan of the genre, with the unique Zelda cues being welcome for fans of the series. When it comes down to it, my only real complaint is the reused bosses and levels, and the wrinkles in the upgrade system. While there certainly are better games in the genre, Hyrule Warriors is a more than worthwhile addition to the hack-and-slash genre, and one that I would definitely recommend. If you're a fan of hack-and-slash games in the Legend of Zelda series, go pick this one up. To those who feel ambivalent about whether or not you want to check it out, or are sick of the Dynasty Warriors formula, I'd say that if the trailers haven't sold you on it, then the game isn't for you. For those who don't know what to expect, maybe give it a rent. I really appreciate that Nintendo and Temco Koei took this bold risk and gave us a unique Zelda spin-off. In a time when gaming publications accuse Nintendo of making the same game over and over again, something like Hyrule Warriors is a breath of fresh air. I honestly wouldn't mind seeing more crossovers like this. How about an actual Mario and Sonic platforming crossover? You know, not just Olympic minigames? Maybe? A guy can dream, can't he? Point is, Hyrule Warriors was a fun side project, and I hope it'll inspire more spin-offs farther down the line. And that covers that. Be sure to stay tuned for more videos, folks. I've got a Let's Play of a kick-ass sweet game coming your way sometime next week, and I'm also bringing back a popular review segment I haven't done in quite a while now. So hit those like and subscribe buttons because there's a lot to look forward to. Until next time, I'm ExoParadigmGamer, and I hope you enjoyed the review.